Okay, so recording has started. So this is the May 2020 Interlibrary Loan Roundtable. If you see me looking off to the side, it's because I have two monitors, so I have everything showing on that one. Um, and we have a pretty short but really interesting agenda today, and it's the first Interlibrary Loan Roundtable that is just entirely online. So I'm hoping for not too many tech troubles, but if anyone is having tech problems, either email me because I have my email up too, or try to. I have the chat open, so if you type something, I will see that. So today I am going to go over the few suggestions that we got for updating the Interlibrary Loan Code. And then the other agenda item was to talk about possibly setting a standard loan period for items sent out on interlibrary loan. And we're not going to set a standard loan period today. I just wanted to start the discussion because it's one that some people have brought up and some people are very for and some are against. So I just wanted to start the discussion on that. And then I also had the idea of someone suggested a statewide agreement to not request new materials until they have been available for at least 1 month. I was going to add that to the best practices list because I've heard from some people that they start getting requests for a title as soon as the day that title is published. When no one has had time to process it or put it in their collection yet. They just barely put in a record. So I feel like a month is perfectly fine of a wait period. And then other than those, it was just going to open it up for any general issues or questions. And I know normally with these meetings, I start with the do we have any general issues or questions? For this one, I was hoping to start with finalizing the interlibrary loan code. So I'm going to bring that up on my screen so that everyone can see it. And there were only a few comments and suggested changes. And can everyone who has it up on their screen see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So the first change suggestion was, let me see. Yes. Okay. The first change suggestion was to clarify that it was for any card holders in good standing. And I'm trying to figure out where to work that in. Is that a clarification that everyone thinks should be included?
Definitely.
Okay. So the introduction starts, okay. And we have a sentence that says ILL service is provided to all users regardless of the reason for the request or the age, gender, race, national origin, sexual orientation, economic status, disability, or the religious or political beliefs of the user. We could change that a little to say ILL service is provided to all users in good standing, or to all cardholders in good standing, regardless of the reason. Does that sound like a good place to put that? Okay. Okay. Because in the first paragraph, I didn't really see a good place to add that in, and I don't think we need it repeated twice in the introduction. Okay, so I will mark that as resolved. And other than that, there was some clarification in italicizing, requesting, and borrowing, and I feel that's just a good formatting suggestion, so I thought that was okay. This one, oh, apparently I missed a line break. And then in the requesting section, there was one spot where it started out saying the requesting library is responsible for honoring the due date and enforcing any use restrictions specified by the supplying library. The due date is defined as the date the material is due to be returned to the borrowing library for return to the supplying library. And it was suggested that we replace borrowing with requesting so that it's saying requesting as opposed to borrowing consistently. So I thought that was a fine change. As I'm reading these, if you have any objections, just let me know. Oh, let me check the chat real quick. Can you make it a little large? Yes. Hang on. There we go. That should be much larger. Perfect. Okay. So I will accept, replace borrowing with requesting so that it's consistent throughout that section. There was an extra period, so we'll accept that. Supplying is italicized. And the only other change that I think was in here was one that I put, which was to change FEMA to VISLA. And I think I'm just going to probably move that down and make it slightly smaller and write originally approved by VLA board November 21st, 2002, and by the FEMA, maybe put in parentheses VISLA, or just put VISLA board January 23rd, 2003, and change it to this document was originally prepared by the following committee members. I'm going to make that smaller and move it down a little, and just add a line that says updated by the Vermont Interlibrary Loan Roundtable in May 1st, 2020, and then when we get approval from the boards, I'll add that in. Either would be fine. Okay. Okay, so that is the only other update, and I did have one feedback question that I was going to bring up. So changing the introduction to any user in good standing. One other person said they had no problem with changing the new dating system as in the national code so that the due date is when it's due back at the patron's library. But they do have a question about implementing that, and they asked if you should have one date in Clover and another in their ILS. That would be a few days later, just to cut down on the automated overdue notices. And I think that's something that we can talk out in time because most people are in Koha, and I know that Wendy has said that for specific, you can set up libraries as a specific type of user, and that will make the due date slightly different. But since there's a variety of ILSs out there, I was thinking that we could just take that as it comes and help everyone figure out a system that works best for their library. Does that sound good? All right, I'm going to bring up the
This is
chat.
Jean. Hello?
Hi! We use Verso. A uniform date would be good. So in the chat, we have Jennifer, it's her first time at the ILL roundtable in Richmond
Yes.
Free. Hi.
Oh, I'm here too. It's Brooks Memorial.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Yeah, hi, Terry. We both had trouble this morning, so that's why you're hearing me going, hello, hello, but you're in by phone.
That's okay. So I'm just going through the questions in chat about the ILL code, and Erica Walsh said that they use Verso and can set libraries up as a patron or borrower, but a uniform date would be good. For implementing that date change, it's going to be up to the individual libraries to set up the Clover due date and the ILS due date. And I can help with that any way possible, but one thing that Clover does is it sets a period of time, but that's just number of days. It doesn't pay attention to when you're open. It doesn't pay attention to the days you process. You can make it pay attention to your holiday dates, but most library systems, when you check something out, it'll set a due date and it'll be like, oh, well, you're not open on Sunday, so we're going to make this due on Monday. And Clover does not do that. So typically, when I'm checking things out on ILL, I'll set the due date to match the ILS. And I know some people don't, but some people also get really upset when they get overdue notices when there's a different date in Clover. I don't worry as much about overdue notices, but that could be because I am a very bad librarian and usually return things late. So,
April, would you recommend that we set Sundays as being holidays in Clover then?
Hello. For crying out loud. Hello? Hello?
I think we lost April.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I leaned on this button and it muted me. There's too many mute options. I did that when I was recording a video tutorial once and I couldn't figure out why I had 3 minutes of silence. Yeah. Okay, so using holiday dates in Clover to get the dates to match your ILS is one option. You can put in a huge amount of holiday dates, and as they pass, they disappear. So you could just work it into the workflow to periodically go in and update those. I am hoping that someday the vendor will let us have more options for calculating the due date, but so far, no luck. So one option is to double check the due date when you mark it as sent, and I'm hoping for better options in the future, but I would love to. How about I work up steps on adding holiday dates in Clover and screenshots of where to mark your participant record so that it does look at the holiday dates. And we can make a working document, and people on different ILS systems can add in what they do to get the dates to match up. And then we'll have a resource that we can all consult when we have questions.
That would be great.
Okay, I will get that created and I will send it out. Okay, let me go back to the questions. Jennifer asked in 5.7, it says copies should be delivered by electronic means whenever possible. Can I clarify? I can't. It just means that if someone requests a copy of an article or a book chapter, then you should email it as a PDF if possible. And Kate said it seems that individual libraries could plan to cope with the discrepancy as suits them, as long as we all know what the due date of record is. And that works. And we can make that working document, and maybe that'll help people figure out their workflow as well. I'm very big on people figuring out the workflow that works best for them. Tracy manually changes the due date so it matches Clover. I also match them up when I send things. But yeah, so I'll start by making that document so that we can figure out what different libraries are doing with different systems. And then I can also investigate any changes that I can make. We'll figure it out. Okay. So I will ask for one last vote. Does the interlibrary loan code look good? Because if it does, then I'm going to email it out to leadership at the 3 groups so that we can get them all to vote and make it official.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Looks good.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Good. I'm so excited. Everyone has been so great through this whole process. All right, so I will send that to leadership. It's one big project that we can check off the list. And Jennifer said at some point if ebooks can be borrowed via interlibrary loan, this could be understood as transferring ebooks rather than hard copies. Yes. Yep. I have yet to find a library that can lend ebooks. But I heard rumor that there is a small group of them that can in the Arizona area, and I've been tracking that down, but no luck yet. But yeah, with licensing at this point, nobody is able to lend ebooks. But yeah, that would be great. Okay, so next on the agenda, let me stop sharing my screen. There. Next on the agenda, let's see, we discussed the feedback. Do you agree that adding a statement to the best practices list of don't request new materials until they have been published for 1 month is a good strategy?
Sure.
Or yes, okay. I know.
Could you make that at least 1 month?
Yes.
Because our system doesn't allow book lending outside of 6 months when they're new.
Yes. I know some people will send new things, but some people do not. And there's some systems that I can set up Clover to not send new requests, but then I've had some people who request something that's been out for a week and said, why is it in unfilled? And then they just keep sending it to the same people, and then I get angry emails and have to solve that. So I think adding that to the best practices of wait at least 1 month before requesting. And I will put that in the best practices list. And I'm going to send out a reminder about the best practices list so that anyone who might be new can see what we came up with. Yeah. So everyone in chat also says it sounds good, reasonable to wait at least a month. and a case-by-case basis to lend a request, but they try to wait at least 3 months to request. So yeah, and a library can always say no, and some do, but when you get the same request 3 times in a week, it can be a little, I understand that can be very frustrating. Okay, so I will add that to the best practices and send a reminder of best practices. I might just start sending that out every, I don't know, should that just be sent out on the ILL listserv every year or every 6 months?
I don't know, maybe 6 months.
Yeah, I agree with 6 months.
Okay.
Because sometimes people change that are doing the ILLs.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Speaking of people changing ILLs, have you ever thought of doing another training for ILL?
Yes, and that brings up a really good point. We have a Clover webinar scheduled for May 12th. Let me find the exact time. I have the Clover webinar. It is Tuesday, May 12th, and it is an intro and a refresher, and it is at 10 a.m. And I have it scheduled for 10 to 11. And I also have, I did not bring up this link yet. I've started creating really short video tutorials for it, for Clover. Let me get the playlist, and they're on our YouTube account. I just have to get to the right. Hang on. I made a playlist link. I just have to find it. YouTube is not my strongest skill. Pause. Okay, I'm going to send a link to one of them. So I'm putting a link in the chat, and it's to one of the videos, and they have just, instead of being a long video that says this is how you log in, this is how you request, I'm breaking them into short 1.5 minutes. I think the longest one is 2 minutes. So that it's short little bite-sized videos that you can just look at when you need reminders. And so far I have how to log in, how to request a book, how to request the Department of Libraries discussion sets, and a big one is how to change the Clover theme colors, because when it updated, it's for some reason switched people to a really dark blue theme that made it hard to see the text. And so that's what I have. I have the video recorded for requesting multiple copies, for changing your password, and for just navigating the searches. And I have those recorded. I just have to finish creating the tutorials. But I am hoping that when I send this out, because I was going to send this out with our meeting summary, I'm hoping people will send me suggestions for what they would like tutorials of in Clover, and I'm building a playlist on YouTube of them.
Perfect.
Yes. I've been able
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been really nice to be able to focus on the training part for this. And we are also updating our website. It's been a really slow process, and I'm hoping that the WordPress help site that I made when Clover first started, I'm going to migrate that back to the new website, because that has a lot more layout options and a little easier to navigate than our current website. So that will be coming sometime this year. But yes, so lots of tutorial videos, a Clover webinar scheduled for May 12th, and send me any ideas for anything that you want to see a tutorial for. I'm having a very fun time making them. what else is on the agenda? So what we have left for the agenda now is any general issues or questions that anyone has, and if we want to start the discussion on a minimum ILL loan period or a set loan period with exceptions for new items. And we're not setting this rule, but I thought I've had questions from a few people about standardizing interlibrary loan periods, so I thought I would open it up for any discussion.
That's a tough one.
It is.
It's a tough one.
So do we want to start that conversation, or do we want to go with the any general issues or topics that people have?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
This is Michelle
Yes.
from Fletcher.
Yes.
Okay. I would love a standardized loan period. I know it's difficult because everyone has different loan periods in-house. So that's a lot of times what, patrons and other staff members look at. Well, why can you have the book for 6 weeks through ILL? You can lend it out for 6 weeks through ILL, but my patrons can only have it for 3 or 4. So I think that's kind of the main question. Do people agree with that? Or so it's kind of hard, but I would love standardized if we could work something out. And I'm not from the public library agenda, arena, so I have a different, I may have a different view on it. So I'd love to hear other people's views on it before I make a decision.
So the question is whether or not to have standardized lending times in ILL.
Yeah, a statewide standardized lending
Right.
time. It's something that we could put in best practices, like if possible, use this standardized loan period, because then that would give flexibility to adjust the loan period for new items or for DVDs or audiobooks if needed.
Yeah.
But I know that with transit times, people have been worried about setting like a long standard period. I mean, it could be also Massachusetts, for one of their systems, I learned that they set a standard loan period because they did a time study of how much time people were putting in just renewing items. So they set one standard loan period and said no renewals.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be tough to have no renewals, but I agree
And
that I think it would be a time saver if it were standardized.
This is Jenny at the Charlotte Library. It does seem like, I know we set loan periods a lot of the time because we send books for book discussions, or people may request a special date, and it does seem like we're a lot of times involved with setting an individualized loan period. And I think it's good to have that option, and maybe, I don't know, a minimum standard or something like that, or just to take care
Can
of
you
the
hear
situation.
me? This is Jen from Brooks Memorial.
Yes.
Yes.
We set a 4-week loan period. Hello?
Sorry, that's my pet noise. This is Randall.
Joys of home.
Yeah,
So we set a 4-week loan period because by the time you receive it and then have to send it back, you sometimes lose a week.
Mm-hmm.
So we find that that's a good period of time. At least they have it for 3 weeks. And then we do renew it again for another, I believe, 4 weeks.
Okay.
So that seems to work, although I deal with a lot of renewals also, but not from libraries, usually our patrons from other out-of-state libraries.
Yeah, those ones always have a huge variety in loan periods.
Yes, we
And
abide by that loan period for the out-of-state ones.
Right.
But for in-state libraries borrowing with each other, it's usually 4.
all right. And in the chat, Jennifer at Richmond said, I thought there was a recommended time period of 5 weeks. And is there a default in Clover? And Clover does have a default due date, but every library sets their own loan period. So you could set it to whatever you want it to calculate for a due date. I have not seen a recommended time period of 5 weeks, but I've seen due dates range anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. So actually 3 to 9 weeks, because some people do even longer. But there's a variety. So I haven't seen like a set general period.
I think it's harder for the libraries like myself who only have 1 day a week that we have pick up or drop off.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it harder if it's a short due date period.
Right.
Yeah.
At the Charlotte Library, we're like that too. We have 1 delivery a week, and 4 or 5 weeks most of the time works fine. If it's 3 weeks, it's difficult. We usually have to renew it.
Yeah, 3 weeks is too short for us also.
And some libraries, and Adrian pointed out, some libraries have 1 delivery and some have more, and that's a factor. And it is. And Betsy,
if you only have a 3-week checkout period, then it doesn't give you any physical time to send it either. Because if you've got a 3-week, if your patrons are allowed to take it for 3 weeks, and it could take a week at either end, you know, it's...
Yes, it does.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is Michelle from Fletcher. So are we talking, and sorry if I'm echoing, I'm walking through some staircase. Are we talking that the loan period would be from library to library 6 weeks? Figuring 1 week on each end for transport and a 4-week loan period in-house?
So with the new ILL code, it would mean that the due date listed is when it's due back at the requesting library, so at the patron's library, not the lending library.
Okay.
And Betsy at Bradford said that they run into problems when libraries won't accommodate due date requests for, like an example was a book club, and then they're all due at different times, and they are inevitably late going back. So a set time would clear some of that up. It would, if they're marked as sent on different days, then it's still going to have kind of different times, but they'll be closer together. So would a suggestion be that maybe in best practices, we could say for interlibrary loan, maybe have a set due date of 5 weeks out to accommodate for transport time? We can't actually tell people they have to do this, but we can suggest it.
Sounds like a good suggestion.
I think, April, the default in Clover is set in days, not weeks. So it'd be best if they set it as, say, 45 days.
Yeah, sounds good.
Incidentally, I don't know if you're hearing me, but with regard to book clubs, I don't know if there's a way in Clover to have it flag a request for something that requires a longer loan period, because when we're dealing with like sometimes a dozen requests at one time, it's really easy to miss the fact that there's a message somewhere buried in the text of the request that says, please give this to us for 8 weeks or something like that. And it would be really nice if it were right on the list that appears on the pending list.
It does.
It does. There's a little flag that should or push pin. It's the blue push pin. If that little blue push pin shows up next to the request, then that means that there's a note.
Okay.
If those aren't showing up, then there might be a setting that needs to be changed.
This is why I want a refresher.
Well, also things like icons, like push pins being different things in different systems, and usually it means you're pinning, like, in email you're pinning it to the top of the email list. It doesn't mean there's a message or something, so it can be a little.
Message in Clover.
Wait, yeah, and it does. You can rearrange your request forms so that you move the borrower's note field up. You'll still only see it if you open the detail view of the request. But yeah, if there is a blue push pin showing up next to anything in Clover, it means that there is a note. But they have had requests from a few states to make that field more noticeable. And it's on the forthcoming updates list to at least put like a box around it to make it stand out from the wall of text a little bit better.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
And that sounds good too. Yeah. But it sounds like we are able to make those adjustments, because putting the important information in up at the top would be really helpful, rather than having to go down and find things like due date.
Yes.
Yeah.
Less show ever.
I agree with that.
So that's a good tutorial idea. I'll do a video on changing the arrangement of the request forms.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll work on that. Okay. 45 days. So the chat is just mostly saying that the 45 days sounds good. Tracy says they lend for 6 weeks. So I think just saying in best practices, if when possible, use a due date that is 45 days out to accommodate for transport time.
Mm-hmm.
Or is at least 45 days.
At least, yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. Is there anything else people wanted to talk about with that?
I had a question.
Yeah.
This is the Green Mountain Library Consortium Kit Keeper website and that effort, and Clover, and I don't quite understand how they're related. If like if we go looking for a book discussion set and find it in the Kit Keeper, does it also appear in Clover? Or can we go just to one place to look for and request books?
Kit Keeper is not at all associated with Clover. I'm not sure if those libraries also have their sets listed in Clover. I think some of them might. I haven't heard a lot of details about the whole program.
Yeah, it seemed like there was one request we made, and I think somehow it did seem that it was connected. It was probably a library that that maybe had the kits listed in Clover, but I'm not really sure. But to coordinate those two things would be really helpful, so we're not going in two different places to try to find books for people and request them.
Yeah, I don't actually have a list of all the libraries that are using Kit Keeper, but it is something that we could add to, we have the page on our site and on the VLA site about requesting discussion sets. As far as I know, the Kit Keeper one was still in the pilot stage.
The Kit Keeper, this is Michelle from Fletcher. Yes.
Okay.
Kit Keeper is still in the pilot stage, and we are obviously on hold right now, is my understanding, but we, and I'm not the contact person for it, But to make it work well, most of our kits are not in our catalog at this point.
Okay.
In that they're not visible to you, which means they're not visible through Clover.
Right.
We do have about 35 that are visible, and it's something that we're working on.
Okay. I think that's going to be on a library by library basis if they have it visible in both or only in one. And I think the Kit Keeper, was it also only Chittenden County libraries right now?
Yeah, my understanding is yes.
Okay. I think if it goes even further and out of the pilot stage and expands beyond Chittenden County, that might be a discussion we could all talk about. But as far as I know, it's still in the pilot stage, so it might be something we bring up at a future meeting.
That would be great to bring it up at a future meeting.
So discussion sets and platforms can be on a future agenda. Okay. So this meeting is flying by. Did anyone have any other topics that they wanted to talk about?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I mean, the meeting was short, but we got a lot done. Yes.
Actually, April, would you like to talk to us all about the new Courier?
I would like to talk to you about the new Courier. So, everyone who's on the Courier should have received emails from me. The new contract is with Priority Express, which is, I think their warehouse is maybe a mile and a half from Green Mountain Messenger, but I have been spending time getting everyone signed up on the new service agreement and setting up billing with the vendor. If you need a W-9 or a certificate of insurance from the vendor, let me know and I will ask them to send it if you haven't received it yet. The contact at Priority is Jeff Adams, who has been really nice so far. And there is also a specific email set up to contact them with any questions. And it's libraries@prioritysameday.com. And the bins have all been transferred to their warehouse. So everything is still there and set up and just waiting for the official go date. Everyone's delivery days are staying the same. If you would like to adjust them, you just need to reach out to them and ask to change the schedule and they'll work with you. I know there's some libraries that had their bins set up in like a secure spot outside because the previous schedule did not match up with the hours that they're open. The Priority has the list of open hours and they're planning on going to libraries when they are open. So if you have your bin in a secure spot or it was at a spot not like some people had their bins at the town hall, if you had a different arrangement other than the vendor coming to your library when you're open, you should reach out to them to make sure that they know that. No, I was never actually given an official list of people who had that set up, so I wasn't sure of everyone. And the new...
Andy?
Was that a question?
I'm sorry, this is Lynn. Do you have the contact handy to who to tell about something like that at Priority?
Yes. I'm going to put the... I put the email in the chat, but it's libraries@prioritysameday.com. And are you getting my email announcements and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. This is
Is who?
Lynn at in Randolph, Kimball.
Oh, hi. Yes.
I'm sorry.
But yes, they've been really responsive over email, and I'm just waiting for them to follow it up with really good service. Oh, good, Catherine. I've had a couple people ask me if they could go pick up their extra bins or pick up the books that are in their bin at the warehouse, and the answer is yes. You just have to email them and arrange a time to go pick that up. So if you really, really wanted to go to their warehouse and pick up everything that's in your bin, that is possible. Green Mountain Messenger had offered that when the service was first put on hold, and Priority is offering the same. I would love, if anyone has any specific questions about it, I would love to answer those.
We have quite a backlog of books waiting to go back to various libraries. It's going to cause quite a bottleneck when the system reopens. Is there any thoughts about, I don't know, doing a stage return to normal, or?
So there kind of is. So some libraries have said that they want to start as soon as the service opens again. Some have asked to wait. What we're going to do is have the libraries that want to start as soon as the service opens. I'm going to put together a list of the ones who have said that, and I'm going to be in another probably week and a half emailing the Courier listserv and asking who wants to start on the 18th as long as the stay-at-home order is not extended. And when I have that list, we're going to work with the Courier to start scheduling those stops. And libraries are not getting billed until their stops actually start. And then we're just going to add libraries on as they can, because I know some people wanted at least a couple weeks in the library to get settled back in and get things moving and get used to the new normal.
So, April, this is Michelle from Fletcher. I have a quick question.
Yes.
So we have books that came in, we closed, they've never gone to the patrons. Are we looking at any way of allowing those to go to patrons rather than send them back and re-requesting them?
I would just request a renewal and say that just add a note that says the patron was never able to use this. Can we renew it?
And can I ask a favor? Could you put my email on the list of Courier contacts, because not being in the building, we're restricted only to webmail. So accessing multiple mailboxes is not easy.
Yes, I will have you added.
Okay, that would be great.
Another thing is, if libraries want to, like, I know Bennington probably has many bins of things. If you want to do a phased start so that you don't have a big bill, the additional bins are really nice because the cost per additional bin is much lower. But if you want to start sending them back in batches instead of all at once, that would be an option. If you have, I would say, more than 3 bins, I would contact Priority to make sure they have a vehicle big enough, because I'm not sure what their standard vehicle size is, but I do know that for the high volume libraries, they have an idea of how many bins go in and out, so they should be braced for some of that. But I think that I'm going to make sure that they understand that a lot of libraries have a lot of things to go back. So, but if you have large amounts, I would just make sure to reach out to them ahead of the first stop and tell them. But I think it's going to take a while for the entire interlibrary loan system to settle down. So I'm hoping that everyone throughout the state knows that just it might take time for things to catch up. Yeah. Oh, and Denise had to leave for a staff meeting. Bye. The warehouse is in Williston. Jennifer asked where it is. I don't have the exact address down. And Denise asked what the status of books and bins at GMM is. GMM, Green Mountain Messenger, does not have any of the bins or bags anymore. And Jennifer in Richmond also asked if you could drop off a full bin if you go to pick up your items. I'm not actually sure. I did not ask them, but that's a good question.
This is Jen from Brooks Library.
Hi.
Is the earliest we can resume our service with the Courier, the 18th?
Yes, we are waiting until the stay-home order is officially finished.
That might change.
It
Governor
might.
Scott, yeah.
So currently it is set as the week of May 18th. Because when I sent out an email asking people if they knew when they might start up again, a large number said not until that order is lifted. There just wasn't enough libraries saying we want to start right now to start the service yet.
Okay.
Now, is the service area for the new Courier service the same as the old one? Are there going to be libraries that are going to be out of the new system, or ones that are suddenly going to be eligible? Are we going to need to go through the list of Courier libraries and check all of our labels to be sure that we have the right list?
The labels should stay the same, and one of the factors that we put in the RFP was that they had to keep every library that was currently on the schedule. So everyone that was on it already is still on it, with the exception of Marlborough College, because they are closing in approximately 1 week. So they opted to not stay on. But everyone that was already on the service is still on the service. I will be sending out a new schedule that takes Marlborough out, but that's the only change.
No new ones were added, huh?
No new ones were added. We're going to stick with the open it up every June for interest. So everyone who's interested in joining can fill out the interest form, and then I'll check with the vendor. They offered a lot of flexibility with adding libraries, so we're going to stick with open it up for interest and scheduling in June and have everyone new start October 1st. So they do have a different service area. They go throughout the entire state, and I mean, even when we brought up Canaan, they didn't say no. So everything's a possibility, and the stops are all going to cost the same. They can't come back and say, well, we'll go there for this amount.
Good.
So we'll see. It's still going to depend on how often they go to some of the far-reaching areas, but they had a very good plan in their bid. So Shelley had to leave. Bye. And Catherine at Starksboro asked if I thought anyone will be loaning that week. She's doing curbside loaning. There's a bunch of people doing loaning. And Tracy said they won't be opening up interlibrary loan until sometime in June, but that could change. Norwich is going to start lending the week after. So when I first polled people to gauge when they might be opening. A lot of them said after the stay home order, and then there was a wave of people who said a week or two after, and then some said not until June. Oh, and Bradford has a pending renovation, so there's dates might change as well. So there's not really just a this is the date the system launches and everyone is on board. We're going at it with flexibility and options because that's what we need right now. So I will be sending up when we do add libraries, when they come back online in the system, I can send out a weekly email that says these are the libraries that have started this week so that people will know.
That sounds good. Thank you.
That would be great.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions?
I'm good.
All right, so I am going to send out a summary of the meeting and a list of what I will be working on, and I will create that document so that people can share how they are getting due dates in their ILS to match due dates in Clover. And I will update the best practices and then also set reminders for myself to send that on the ILL listserv every 6 months.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, April.
Thank you.
Thank you.